This is News 8 from Wood TV, covering the Michigan primary live from your local election headquarters.
Good evening to you. Tonight, a special edition of the 7 on 8. Know before you vote, getting you ready for tomorrow's primary. The battle for the Democratic presidential nomination is now essentially down to former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders. New poll numbers released today show the former VP in line for a big win tomorrow night. Epic MRA talked to 400 likely voters. 51% support Biden to 27% behind Sanders. Another 13% said they're still undecided. And it appears the momentum Biden gained over Super Tuesday has made a big impact. 37% of the voters polled said they made up their mind in the last few days. Now, we are taking this with a grain of salt, given we know how off the polls were back in 2016. For analysis on that, political reporter Rick Albin will join us in about 10 minutes. Now, Rick has exclusive one-on-ones with both candidates heading into tomorrow. Both have acknowledged how important our state is to win the nomination. He sat down with Senator Sanders and started the discussion around health care.
Look, in my view, the current healthcare system is extraordinarily wasteful and dysfunctional. We are spending twice as much per person on healthcare as the people of Canada or any other European country, $11,000 a person. And yet we have 87 million Americans who are uninsured or are underinsured. We have 30,000 people who die each year. 500,000 people go bankrupt because of medically related bills. And on top of that, we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, all so that the healthcare industry last year could make $100 billion in profits. All right, what Medicare for All is about is expanding a very popular program called Medicare. But today you have to be 65 or older to get into Medicare. All I want to do over a 4-year period is go from 65 now to 55, 45, 35. Everybody is in. And for the average worker in America, that family, they will pay substantially less for health care than they're paying right now. Now, the average family is paying about $12,000 a year because we have to administer thousands of separate plans. You have one plan, he has one plan, I have one plan. It costs hundreds of billions of dollars to administer that Byzantine system. When you have one broad system of comprehensive health care for all, it's with you for your whole life. You quit your job, you get fired, you want to start your own business, you have health care as a right. That's what we've got to do.
There are concerns on the part of some people that if health care is all in one pot and if it's administered by the government, will your care be throttled? For example, will there be a lack of services available if it's all in one place?
Well, let's be clear. This is not, quote unquote, a government-run health care plan. All it is, you'll still go to your same doctor. You'll go to your same hospital. The only difference is, like people on Medicare right now, you will have a Medicare card. It will be for everybody in this country. But you still go to the same doctor, you go to the same hospital. And what we want to do, by the way, is expand Medicare to cover dental care, which is not covered right now, hearing aids, eyeglasses, and home health care, which is terribly important for a lot of folks.
I want to move on, but I have to ask the question that you've been asked 110 times during the campaign. How do you pay for that?
Okay, well, in terms of health care, right now, we are paying for it because we're spending twice as much per capita. You're paying, the average person is paying about $12,000 a year. Their employer is paying $14,000 a year. We get rid of all that. No more premiums, no more co-payments, no more deductibles, no more out-of-pocket expenses. What we do is say to you, hey, it's not free. Of course you're going to have to pay for it. But among other things, if you're an average worker, it's a 4% tax on your income with a $29,000 deduction. All right, so you exclude the first $29,000. That means the average worker in America pays a lot more. We have a tax on wealth, which helps pay for that, and employers will probably have a payroll tax. So we pay for it, but at the end of the day, employers will pay less, workers will pay less, and it will be comprehensive health care to be with you for your whole life.
Let's move on to trade. NAFTA has been an area that you've been critical for the former vice president. There's now the new USMCA. Michigan is disproportionately impacted, it seems, by trade deals. And it's not just manufacturing. I think people forget that we are the second largest producer of specialty crops, second only to California. So we have a big agriculture component too. So any trade deal has to work both well for both. How would a Sanders administration approach that?
One of the differences, as you indicated, between Vice President Biden and myself is our record on trade. I understood way back in the 1990s as a member of Congress that it was wrong to ask American workers who were making decent wages in manufacturing, for example, to be competing against people in Mexico and later in China who were making starvation wages, pennies an hour. I knew that that would fail. And the result was that we've lost over 4 million good-paying jobs. Here in Michigan, NAFTA and PNTR with China cost the state about 160,000 good-paying jobs. Lowered wages caused a race to the bottom.
Switching gears now to a live look at what will be a Joe Biden rally in Detroit tonight. They're getting set up there right now. He's expected to take the stage here shortly. Before the rally, former Vice President was in Grand Rapids to talk about his work on the healthcare system. The Affordable Care Act was one of the topics Rick asked about.
Mr. Vice President, you came here to talk about health care. Interestingly, on the same day, we released a poll that shows that 50% of voters that will vote in the primary on Tuesday prefer the expansion of Obamacare, preferred to only about 21% who want Medicare for all. So tell me how that expansion would look and what that means overall.
We'd do two things. Number one, I'd restore all the cuts to Obamacare, further subsidize it so people get the better plan for less money, and I would put in a public option that provided for Medicaid like coverage, but it's a Medicare coverage. So anyone who qualified for Medicaid would automatically be able to have the Medicare coverage under our plan. But it's by choice. In addition to that, it would significantly lower drug prices, not allow drug companies to increase the price of a drug beyond the cost of inflation, and it would lower, there'd be no hidden bills, etc. So there's a lot it does, and it can do it quickly, and I think the reason why people like what's happened is we're already, we're covering people with pre-existing conditions. We've expanded coverage across the board, and people need the help now, not a promise in the future that somehow we're going to find $35 trillion to come up with a plan.
Speaking of healthcare, for the first time in 30 years, you and I didn't shake hands when you walked in today because we're all very aware of the coronavirus. We all know that it's not just a health issue, but it's an economic issue as the markets were paused for 15 minutes today. What would a President Biden be doing about the coronavirus?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't have done what the president did in the first place and dismantle what President Obama and I put in place in terms of dealing with the diseases, a pandemic disease in office we set up, et cetera, wouldn't cut the budget, et cetera. But well, it's a matter of competence and confidence. The fact of the matter is the president there's no confidence that people have in whatever he says. He shows up at the CDC and says, perfect, the tests are perfect, and just like my call to the Ukrainian president. It's just, and today I'm told he said, he just compared this to the flu, nothing to worry about, everything's going to be okay. I wish he'd be quiet and let the experts deal with this. Let the CDC speak to this. Secondly, the ability to be able to prepare for the testing as well as the care for people who are test positive. Hospitals aren't ready across the country. They need everything from equipment to training to beds and the like. And there's so much we should be doing now in terms of planning, because I'm not trying to panic people, but it is spreading and we can deal with it if in fact we move in the direction that has been recommended by the experts from the beginning. And so I just think the way the president's going about this is all the wrong way.
Quickly moving to another subject that is very important in Michigan, as you well know, and that's trade. There was NAFTA, now there's USMCA. You know, your opponent's been talking about that too. What did trade look like in a state like Michigan to protect both manufacturing and agriculture interests?
Well, first of all, remember, I'm the guy that helped bail out the automobile industry, the single biggest issue that affected the people of the state of Michigan, number one. And my friend voted against that, okay? Number two, I think the trade policy we have now is a mistaken policy of taking on China on matters that have a negative impact on both agriculture and on manufacturing. We're focusing on the wrong things with China. Number three, we can't deal with China being the rogue nation out there unless we bring in our allies and friends who are the same democracies we have to make up 50% of the world's economy, and make it clear that any agreement that has to go through all of us, we're all there.
Mr. Vice President, the final question. Over a week ago on a Friday, I wrote a story that said if the former vice president doesn't win South Carolina in double digits, he's going to have to reassess his campaign. You won it with 48% going away. You won 10 states in Super Tuesday. Michigan's the big prize this coming Tuesday, and the only of the 6 states likely to be a battleground state. How important is it that you win here? How confident are you that you can?
Well, I'm not a pundit, so I'm not going to express the degree of which I win. I feel very good. I've worked a long time to earn every vote that I can possibly earn in the Democratic primary, and I think we'll do well. The fact that the governor and lieutenant governor endorsed me, the fact that so many members of Congress have endorsed me, past and present, I think testifies to the fact that they have confidence in how I would deal with and can help Michigan, in addition to the country. And so I feel good about where we are, but again, we'll know tomorrow late in the evening.